Sweet. Robin Vieira Brower, welcome to the Steep Stuff podcast. How's it going?
Going well. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, stoked to finally have a conversation. I feel like I feel like it's been hard to put this one together, so I'm glad we were finally able to do it. I feel like you're like the only American woman in skyrunning right now, and we were definitely due to have a conversation. So happy to do this one.
Yeah. Happy to be here and dig into all the things. There's a lot to talk about, and I'm excited to see the sport grow globally, but for sure in North America.
Oh yeah, definitely. We'll definitely get into it. Before we get started though, I'd love to hear more on your background. Like give me like the 5 minute elevator pitch on where you grew up, how you got into sport, and kind of your relationship with sport.
Yeah. Let's see. 5 minute elevator pitch. So I will say I'll start by saying I have a very, I guess, non-traditional entrance into the running world. But I do my background, like many others, I played team sports. I grew up playing soccer, played soccer in college at University of Puget Sound, and had a lot of success with soccer my whole life. That was my whole life. um, and fell in love with sport at an early age. At the same time, I grew up in Seattle, so my parents introduced me to the outdoors pretty early on. So I skied and yeah, grew up skiing and grew up pretty close to the mountains, but not quite in the mountains. I was, I guess, a city girl, but didn't realize it at the time. And so my relationship with running, particularly trail running in the mountains, didn't really come to fruition until after I graduated from college and stopped playing soccer. I actually hated running up until the point where I didn't really have anywhere else to turn, and fell in love with trail running as a means to just be outside and closer to nature. And I remember seeing people, on trails with their super heavy like hiking gear, and it seemed nice to be really close to the mountains, but I was always looking for a more efficient way to be in them and to get up high. And um, once I learned, that you can do that with certain types of trail running, I fell in love with it and um, started competing in some local races and was podiuming and, had a realization that I might have something here, but I knew that I was really strong and interested in the technical side of trail running, and I didn't know about sky running. I didn't know what that would look like yet. So I turned to um, people that I had heard about, like Emily Forsberg, and was kind of enchanted by that way of accessing steep terrain in the mountains. And so eventually, it took a while to get there, but I found skyrunning, and a couple years ago decided that that was what I wanted to pursue next. I took some time off of running for a variety of reasons and came back like head first, dove into skyrunning, met my coach, and have been training like solely focused on skyrunning for the past couple years ever since. So it's been a journey to get here, and um, like a pretty unconventional one, I think. So I'm very grateful for all the exposure and opportunities that have come my way.
So cool. No, and I love your background, especially the non-traditional aspect of it. I come from a soccer background myself, so
Oh, cool.
I definitely always feel for the folks that didn't come from like track and field or were steeplers. And
hmm
what position did you play in soccer?
I played forward.
Okay,
I played forward and center mid, but forward was kind of my sweet spot.
I still
I'm
haven't.
not.
Sorry, I was
What
gonna
were
say
you
I
say?
still haven't had a defender on the podcast, and I'm like kind of upset
Really?
about that. Yeah, yeah.
I think I always admired defenders because I've always been on the small side. And so that was my like challenge with soccer. So I kind of envied the defenders because they were always able to like muscle their way through things, but I was always the speedy one, like, doing the long runs and sprints and whatnot. But that was growing up one of my biggest challenges with soccer, and I ran into it all the time. And I had tons of coaches tell me that I wasn't going to go anywhere with soccer unless I like put some mass on. So I spent a lot of time in the gym at an early age trying to develop that. And that's also like when I finally found trail running, I felt so at home in my like body and capabilities there. So yeah.
Interesting. You see, like I always had the issue was for me, I had the speed, and I feel like a lot of athletes do. It's the skill, and I never like wanted to
Uh,
take, especially like young in high school and below that. Like I just never wanted to take the time to like put emphasis and like learn more of the ball handling skills and stuff like that. It was more so
mhm.
let me just use my speed to compensate for all those shortcomings. And yeah, that's why I didn't have much of a career in soccer out like in college. But yeah, it's a fun sport though. Team sports are different. It's interesting, like
Mhm.
that dichotomy and crossover. Um, coming from a team sport than going to more of a solo sport in trail running, where it's kind of all about us, but at the same time, we also try to make it about community. It's kind of weird, right?
Yeah, it is. It is weird. And I'm still, I think because I have such a, that team sport background, I'm still trying to figure out how to how to have come from that and go into this, because there is the backbone of trail running, no matter what type of trail running, is community, right? Like we wouldn't be here without that side of things. So it's an interesting crossover for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. All right. So let's dive headfirst into sky running. I got to ask you, like, what was there any like one thing that stood out to you, like where you saw, I don't know, maybe KJ or Emily, somebody running on this ridge and they're like, that was inspiring. Like, what was like, how did you exactly find it? I think that's more of the story I'm looking for. Just because it's
Hmm.
such a niche thing, especially in the United States.
Yeah, totally. I don't know if there was a particular like moment where that stands out in my mind, but I know that I'm I can be such a romantic when it comes to just, I don't know, my relationship with being in the mountains, just the feeling of being up high and out there. And so I think I probably saw or read something from Emily and felt, like her connection with the mountains is probably what the root of all of it stemmed from. And I fell in love with the ability to be that connected to the mountains, and therefore learned, oh, I mean, she does a lot of other things aside from sky running, but she like that's sky running. So I made this connection early on that that ability to be far in and high up in the mountains, just created this like level of connection to them that was just very enticing to me. That coupled with the endurance side, obviously, that's necessary to do skyrunning races and run that type of terrain. I was like, oh, it hit me. I was like, okay, this, I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't even really know why yet, but at some point I need to pursue this and figure out that side of things. But it's funny because at that time in my life, I was pretty far away from getting close to that. So it felt pretty unachievable. I just kind of tucked in my back pocket.
The economics of it are hard because all of
Yeah.
everything it's not in America. Let's put it that way. Hopefully soon it will be. But you have to travel internationally for pretty much every race. If you were to do something like the Skyrunner World Series, it's a lot of them are hard to get to. It's not an easy thing. So I'm just curious because I find it really interesting. I find it really cool that like that didn't deter you. You're like, I'm still gonna do this. I'm gonna, and we'll talk about your season this year and some of the races that you did. But was that a deterrent at all, or because it seems like a lot of American trail runners seems like, I mean, it's not even seems like it's definitely the Golden Trail Series seems to steal all the American talent, and
Hmm.
rightfully so. I get it. I mean, obviously they have great marketing. They have more races in the states, usually 1 to 2 a year every year. What was it about for you that you're like, this is not going to be a barrier for me? I'm going to go pursue this.
That's a good question. I think, gosh, I mean, I'll be the first to recognize like it is a huge privilege to be able to travel and compete for anything. So that said, um, there's a lot of barriers in place, and a big one is financial. Another one is time. There's a number of other, things that make it difficult. But for me, um, I guess I just didn't really take no for an answer. I didn't know when it was going to happen. And early on, I bought Emily Forsberg's skyrunning book, like before I even knew exactly what skyrunning was. And I just kept it on my bookshelf and I just kept looking back at it every now and then. And, like one day, I don't know how, I don't know when. I didn't even know, I guess, at the time, if it was going to be me that was going to be able to tackle these goals, or if, maybe some way, shape, or form I could inspire future generations to do that, to figure out how to do that. But um, I guess I grew up not really taking no for an answer with a lot of different things. And so that determination came into play. That's one side of it. There are a number of other things, but I'll just name two of them in particular. My husband is so supportive of me, and he comes from a travel family. So his dad is a pilot, or was a pilot, and his mom is a flight attendant. So he is just pretty well versed in travel and the nuances there. So that's incredibly helpful for me. And uh, my coach is the other person who kind of came into my life very unexpectedly and has led to, I mean, I really wouldn't be able to do what I do without like either of them.
I read that you had actually met your coach in South Africa at a Hoka shoot.
Yeah.
Is that talk about that and how that kind
Yeah.
of evolved into, because I feel like for skyrunning it's such a particular thing. Obviously fitness is fitness, but there's a lot of specificity, especially when you're getting ready for certain races that you need
Mhm.
to do. So it's almost its own different thing. So maybe talk about one, your preparation for races like this with your coach, and also two, how that relationship evolved.
Yeah. So I was in, let's see, it was early 2024. I was in South Africa for a Hoka shoot, and it was a huge, one of those like big production shoots where there were tons of people and big budget. And they had hired Christian Grayling, my coach, to be on set as a movement coordinator. Basically, they needed someone to help the athletes, perform the right movements for the right shots, kind of thing. Um, Sometimes that's necessary, and other times, I mean, it becomes necessary when there's budget for it. But so Christian was on set, and we spent a lot of time together during that shoot. And we just got to talking, about his background, my background, what my goals are. And he's a professional runner himself and has won and raced a lot of ultras and sky races. Him and his wife have a coaching business, and they're both professional athletes and really strong at what they do. And I don't know, we just like hit it off pretty quickly. And I shared just some like some goals with him, and he started looking more closely at how I was running and noticed my technical skills on that type of terrain, and brought up, like, have you ever considered racing sky races? And it was kind of out of the blue, and I was like, now that you mention it, I have, but I have not done it yet, simply because I didn't even know where to start. It's you can look at the European field and the female athletes over there competing, and it's easy to, dream, I think, but not really seeing many women in the US going after it. I didn't know where to start. So he was the one who brought it up. And Tyler, my husband, was the one who was like, you should like, he was like nudging me. You should see where that can go. So it took a couple other people like believing in me to really go out on that limb. And eventually, I mean, it was not that difficult, I guess, at the end of the day, for me to just see like the opportunities here wide open in front of me. I just have to take it. So um, from there on forward, I was like 150% in. And I think that is the only way that I've been able to, I guess I'll call it like catching up sort of to where I need to be from a fitness perspective, and just like general learning perspective of the whole skyrunning scene. And then on top of that, of course, the trail scene, because there's a lot going on, and I've learned you need to be like acutely aware, especially if you're, not on a team, to know what to do and when to do and how to do it. So,
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting. There's a lot to unpack there. One thing I might want to do is shift gears a little bit. I didn't want to go too much back in time, but I think it's so integral and really important for your story and for the listeners to understand like who you are as the creative as well as who you are as the
Mm.
athlete, because I feel like you as the creative plays a huge role as in tandem with you as the athlete. Maybe talk about what you do professionally as well, kind of the studio you run, just because I don't know, one of the things that really struck me about you and why I think you'll go really far in this sport, in addition to athletics, you're a very good storyteller. You're very good at being able to, your stuff is aesthetically pleasing when it comes to your social media, your website, things like that. You can convey your story very well. So yeah, maybe go back in time, talk about what you do as far as running a creative studio.
Yeah. So it's like a whole other, sometimes I feel like I live two separate lives, but at the end of the day, they're very connected. So, um, and it's interesting because I get asked a lot like how I do what I do, because I think some people only see the athletic side and then some people only see the creative side. But at the end of the day, yeah, they're hyper connected. So my husband and I own Ampersand Studios, which is a creative strategy agency. We do films, um, all sorts of creative assets, marketing campaigns, um, brand strategies, brand rebuild, stuff like that. And lately we're focused mostly on like narrative storytelling, because at the end of the day, that's what we're both super passionate about, is honestly telling other people's stories, who wouldn't otherwise be told. So amplifying that. But I got into it again, non-conventionally. I started out like I have an undergraduate degree in neuroscience and kinesiology, so not necessarily related to running a creative studio. But from there, I realized I didn't want to be, in a clinic or a lab all the time. And so I pivoted and actually went and got my master's in sports product management from the University of Oregon in Portland. And so that led me to a career in the outdoor industry. And the entire time, so I've bounced around, like I've worked for some known outdoor brands, but the entire time I knew that at some point in time I wanted to open my own studio because I wanted to work for myself and I wanted to have that creative freedom. And so post pandemic, I was working for an agency and got laid off because of the economy at the time. And my husband and I were like, okay, now's the time as ever. Kind of similar situation to just saying yes and jumping into skyrunning. We don't know how this is going to go, but let's try it. And so between the two of us, we have built up like enough. Our networks are pretty big in that space, and so we jumped into our creative studio not knowing what the heck we were doing, and it sort of took off, which has been amazing, a roller coaster, and honestly very, very difficult, but doable in also being a full-time athlete. The Like there are some days, we all know life is very glamorized on social media, and yes, I can tell a good story and, make things look pretty online and whatnot, but they're doing both is an absolute grind, and it's also amazing. So there's a lot of risk reward, a lot of challenges and growth that being a creative and like a business owner has provided. I mean, there are days where we were, when I'm just thinking back to last June when we were in Austria for one of my races, like days leading up to the race, things went wrong with a client, and I was on calls like, during the time of the pre-race routine where pretty much all the other athletes were getting in the right headspace, you know, stretching, foam rolling, doing the things they needed to do for their body. And I was managing this other thing. So the balance there is tricky. Yeah.
I appreciate you painting that picture. And the reason the reason I wanted to bring it in is just because, like, as we continue to tell your story, I think, and when the audience gets to see your Instagram or sees, your website, it makes a lot of sense. Like your ability to continue to, storytelling, painting these pictures. I don't know. Like I said, it makes a lot of sense when it comes into storytelling aspect. So I appreciate that. Um,
Yeah.
how do you like running a business with the athlete aspect, like trying to balance both? Like I've always, especially as a podcast host, like the eventual goal of this, hopefully in the near future, is to be my own boss and not have to live that corporate America life. Like how do you enjoy that while also training at a high level?
Um, it's hard. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's hard, but um, the the reward is big, and it also, I mean, we live in a world in which you're kind of, as an athlete, and I've heard you talk about this, on your podcast here with other folks, but being an athlete requires pumping out content, and so being able to um, do that, I guess, with the tools that we have is helpful. Um, but sometimes there's no time for it because we're so busy doing that for other clients. But I think it, like I said, the rewards are big, but the key component to all of it is discipline and like balancing my time, which that's been the case. I think I'm the best version of myself for pretty much all things, but definitely being an athlete when I have another outlet outside of being an athlete that gives me another place to focus my energy on, or gives me a reason to not do too much, like volume wise, for training. So yeah.
See, I think you nailed something very important there. I think it's the training aspect, but if a race goes wrong or something performance wise isn't where you want it to be, you also have this other thing that constantly is sitting in the back of your mind that you're pursuing at a level of excellence as well in your business. So whereas like it's almost different. Whereas like if you're working like a normal job, it's not the same when it's your own baby and it's your own thing. Like there's a different level of I feel like, for me at least, enthusiasm, which
Hmm.
kind of draws a dichotomy. And it's fun to be working on multiple things and not just drawing maybe a sense of worth from just athletics.
Yeah. Hmm. It's complicated because it's easy to get like it's messy, I guess is my point. Because so many of us who are in this sport and world, like it's easy to be a perfectionist, I guess, or like a type A personality, which I definitely have traits of that. But I think if anything, owning my own business and doing this at the same time has taught me you can really only have success if you let go of that vision of perfection, whatever that picture looks like for you. Partially, but way easier said than done.
That's true. You have like and I gotta ask you this on top of that. Like you have a relatively like sizable following on social media. Like, does that do you pay attention to that, or is it more for you like more focused on athletics? Like, how do you balance both of those? Like, are you concerned about metrics? And because I know you do brand stuff as well, trying to balance those things. Like I have this weird thing where I kind of hate Instagram, where like
Yeah.
sometimes I'll be too, especially for the podcast, like I'll get too in the weeds of worrying about like, oh, this post isn't doing well or this isn't getting as much reach as it
Hmm.
should, where I should just be worrying about my art, right? Which is the conversation I'm having with you right now. Or my own athletics, which that's a different conversation. Um, but yeah, how do you like reconcile that part?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I also hate Instagram sometimes. I think we all kind of do. Like
Yeah.
it's turned into this necessary, really wonderful community connection touch point, in addition to a place to be creative and an outlet, but also kind of a mandatory like requirement if you're gonna um be an athlete these days. I mean, people will disagree with me on that, and I will probably disagree with myself sometimes too on that. But for me personally, I've always turned to it as an outlet, and we all get stuck in like, oh, follower count and wanting to grow and wanting to have influence or come across a certain way or whatever. Um, so like if you go deep in my in my feed, you'll find probably like different versions of me from back then because we all change too. I mean, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, it's an outlet for me, and it's also a means to like process things I'm going through that other people are probably going through too, or things people are curious about that I'm haven't quite nailed, but I'm like working on sort of. Um, so yeah, I'm just keeping it in mind, and it's fun for me. I guess the minute it feels like a drag or it's not fun, I kind of go distant from it for a little bit, but I'm kind of keeping myself in check on that.
Interesting. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I appreciate the candid answer because I
Yeah.
feel like it's something we all, as athletes, all deal with. I mean, I'm one of those people that like I don't know. On the podcast, I've been like very outspoken one way or another, and I very much believe in never being married to an idea. I used to like hate it, and
Hmm.
then you realize the more I pay attention to alternative, I shouldn't say alternative, but like other sports. Climbing's a great example. Most climbers have like crazy
Hmm.
social media followings, and
Yeah.
if you want to be a really well-known climber, you have to be popular. And I wonder if like that is part of the direction with our sport as well, where performance is obviously one of the most important factors, if not the most, but also if you want to convey your story and get who you are out into the world, I think social media is a massive component of that, and like
Hmm.
a necessary evil, if you will. So
Hmm.
it's this weird tightrope. I don't know. I think that's
Yeah,
kind of
it's a tightrope.
yeah
That's a good way to put it.
yeah
So yeah, I mean, I think too, it's easy to fall into the comparison game on social media for a variety of things. And so I think um, just keeping that in mind as athletes is important because there's people out there that are like way faster than me that aren't active on social media. And then there's people that are like I'm faster than that are way more active on social media. I mean, I don't know. It's its own beast, and we're all kind of I'm aware that we're all trying to figure it out. No
yeah.
one has fully mastered it.
That's true. That's true. All right. Now
Yeah,
we're going back to skyrunning. I gotta
cool.
get us back into that. Okay. So this past summer you traveled a bunch, obviously to Ireland. You just recently, relatively recently, I can't believe we're already in December now, but
I know.
relatively recently raced at Mourne Skyline as well as your Austrian race. Can you pronounce the Hutch?
Oh yeah. I mean, don't take this word for word, but Hutchkönig,
Okay. All right. That's better than I would have
Hutchkönig.
done. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I heard when I was there from other people.
Now, the beautiful thing about skyrunning is there's a dense calendar. There's races literally like the season is so like massive, if you will.
Hmm.
What made you? I know you had like a wider season as well. I know obviously, what was it? Minotaur was canceled, and there was a few on your calendar that you
Hmm.
didn't get to. But what made you select this current like this roster of races that you did, the specific skyrunning ones?
Mm. Um, I was a little naive, if I'm being completely honest. I would do it somewhat differently next year and plan to, but also sort of similar. So I think skyrunning is such a interesting, like every course is so different. You're at the mercy of so many different things and you don't have control of so many different things. So I chose the races I chose last year based on the competitive pool that I knew or suspected would be racing there. Um, Places I selfishly wanted to visit and experience because that's another part of skyrunning is it's so immersed in the you learn so much about the culture there when you go to these races. And on top of that, I travel like where some places are extremely hard to get to, some are easier to get to, though still not very easy to get to from here in the US. um and then also my strengths as a runner, which I learned a lot this season about that and how important it is to you have your like your push races that you're probably gonna um like you have a good chance of doing pretty good in it, but there's those push races are the ones that will challenge me more so than others. They'll all challenge me, but then the races that I'm more set up for success with my specific skill set. So for me, I know that like literally running from sea to sky is something that I'm strong at. When I start at sea level, obviously I don't have to deal with altitude. I train pretty consistently at like 4,000 to 7,000 feet. So when I run at sea level, I feel amazing. Like I can push my heart rate much harder and focus on the technicality of the course, which is where I thrive. So that comes into play when selecting races. But last year, when I was looking at Austria, I had never been to Austria and I just dreamt about those mountains and wanted to see what they were like firsthand. That course in particular has had, I think, one, maybe more cancellations in the past. So I knew that weather might be an issue. And up until the day of the race, they were projected to have like crazy lightning and maybe snowstorms. It had gotten canceled the previous year. So oddly enough, that intrigued me because I know that weather is something that I can handle. Like we talked about earlier, heat is not necessarily my best friend. So if it's colder, I know that's something that I can do, like perform well in. Um, and I also my coach, my coach likes to remind me to think about what I want to enjoy as a celebration drink and meal afterwards. So
Ooh,
that came into play too with strudel and beer.
I like that.
Um, but outside of that, I mean, Canada, that's when you look at where these sky races are happening, Canada is practically our backyard in comparison to some of these other distant places. So that was an easy selection. Plus, running in those mountains is dreamy. So, unfortunately, that got canceled the day before because of a snowstorm. So, that was a huge bummer. There were athletes that had traveled from all over the world to be there. And so, you know, unfortunate.
My best friend and training partner was literally boarding the plane because he was going to go race.
Oh my
And he was
gosh.
like getting on the plane when he got the email. He goes, "Well,
Did he
I
leave?
guess
Did
I'm
he get
going to
off the
turn
plane?
around." No,
Yeah.
he got off the plane. It's like that sucks.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it does. I mean, we're at the mercy of like weather when you're running up high like that in pretty like high consequence terrain. So that was a huge takeaway for me this season because the next race after that I had planned was Beast of Big Creek, which is one of two only sky races in the US. And so that was truly in my backyard in Washington on the Olympic Peninsula, and that one got canceled because of forest fires that were raging for months, unfortunately. So I don't know the status of that next year yet. And then I had planned to go to Switzerland for the Matterhorn, and that one I just simply couldn't pull off due to logistics and financials. Um, and then Ireland came around. So Lorne Skyline was a dream, like literally my dream course when it comes to sea to sky. That if you talk to other athletes, like after they ran that course too, like it was a fan favorite, really well marked, strong course, super fun. It was the equivalent of a roller coaster. I mean, I think we went up and over 7 different peaks
Oh wow.
during the course. Like up, and then you would crest the peak, and you could see for the next 3 miles the terrain that you're about to like roll right down and right back up. So it was pretty crazy, and super technical course. So yeah, I'm really excited for next season. I learned a lot this past season, and uh, I'm really grateful for all of like the support and just takeaways. Truly, I feel like you cannot begin to understand skyrunning unless you go try it. And then you're like, oh, okay. And now I kind of understand and can comprehend what this is about and what's important and how it actually is pretty different than trail running races.
How has it changed? Obviously, you've been working with your coach for a bit now, and you're preparing and getting ready for this. This was your first season of really doing like big world class
Yeah.
races. How has it changed your perspective on training now, as far as like the way you approach
Oh,
things? Probably immensely, right?
it's like night and day. It's yeah, I mean, we've been going into last season, I was really focused on just like building my base and increasing aerobic capacity and focusing on some speed toward the end of my off season going into last season. And I, it took a lot of trust to trust him, trust my training, because this is going to sound crazy. Like my first race of the skyrunning season was the Austria race, and I think that was like 8,000 feet of climbing over 30K. And I hadn't done a lot of vert training up until that point. Ton of strength, ton of like flatland training and speed training. And I was like, Christian, are you sure I'm ready for this? And he was like, yeah, yeah, you're for where you are now and what your goals are. Um, trust your training. And so I trusted my training, and it was the hardest part of that race was not the uphill. The hardest part was the last like 10 or sorry, last 5 miles, 8 miles maybe, which ironically was most similar to probably what you'd find in like a Golden Trail race. It was just like undulating, downhill, uphill, not technical. So I've learned the training really is so specific for this type of running and racing. And I felt it again when I was in Ireland. There were like 5 different occasions during that race where I was like, oh, I wouldn't be able to be going at this pace or climbing this efficiently had it not been for that particular training run where I did like a certain set of intervals. A lot of my training is very heart rate based. So it's a constant balance of just being able to be super mindful of that, like at all times during the race.
Very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I see. Like I've seen a couple photos. I haven't. I tried to lurk you on Strava, but you're private. I'll have to lurk it later. Um, I've seen you on the track a little bit too. Do you do like how have the blocks worked, especially now coming off the
Hmm.
season? Are you back into a base period? Like, what are you working on now?
Yeah, right now I'm in a base period. I'm working on more or less like increasing volume, but keeping intensity pretty low. So mostly I'm staying in like zone 2, zone 3 with most of my training runs. We're trying to, I mean, scientifically speaking, we're trying to, um, just increase the load and volume and efficiency, cardiovascularly and muscular endurance wise, so that I can become more efficient. I almost said comfortable, but you're never comfortable running one of those races um, for longer periods of time over greater distances. Right now, like I'm running like 50-mile weeks probably, which feels like very, very comfortable on my body. And so over the next like remaining weeks in this block, I'll be increasing distance as the week goes on, not necessarily paying so much attention to vert, like there's snow in the mountains and I'll get in there soon once it fills in more, but um just putting in the miles. So it's a little bit mind numbing at the moment for me, if I'm being honest, but I try to I love running at the track because it's a fun opportunity for me to like test myself and it's a really efficient workout. But I'm trying to just enjoy the volume right now and just like as like pick my head up and look around more and enjoy just the longer runs. And it's easy for me to get a little bit bored when I'm not running on super technical stuff. So it's, yeah, winter training, off-season training is a challenge for us all.
Dude, I feel your pain. I'm going through this right now. Texted my coach.
Yeah.
I had a coaching call on Friday, and I was like, dude, could you just let me run up a mountain, please, at like
Yeah,
in zone four?
please.
Like, please, just please, let me do something. This is
I
driving
know.
me nuts. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
totally understand. All right, so back to sky running. I think there's a lot of questions I can pull from this. I think the first one and probably the most important one is like just the lack of representation. One, from the Americans over there, and two, just from just like American women that just we don't have a lot of them, if any of them. I know
Yeah.
this was something we really wanted to get into and talk about going into this conversation, so I'm going to give you the floor to talk about it, and just so we can hopefully raise the banner and get some more people from stateside
Yeah.
doing these races.
I know, the ladies. It's interesting. I mean, there's there is work definitely being done to increase representation, for sure in trail running. And as you get more niche into the different types of trail running, there's 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 a lot of work to be done, right? Like it's um overwhelming to see all of the work that needs to be done. Yet at the same time, the women that I have, like I am so inspired by the women that have done this. If you know, even if they are not in the States, they're over in Europe. And um, those are like the role models that I have to look at the moment. That being said, there are some other, like I am not the only one in the States pursuing skyrunning. There are some really talented women out there too. Um, but the the need to increase like the sheer number of women starting at, towing the line at some of these sky races is huge. I think I got used to, like, prior to starting racing skyrunning, I got pretty used to just selecting the more technical courses that I could find in races that are more local. And so, yeah, I got used to just there being fewer women in that starting mix. And I thought surely going to Europe, excuse me, like the birthplace of skyrunning and racing in Austria, there'd be hundreds of women there. And that wasn't the case. So my eyes were opened there. And that made me realize, like, it's not just a US problem, it's a global problem. And so I think there's a lot of work that can be done from these race organizations. There's a lot of work that can be done from like us as athletes, men and women. But also brands. There's a like literally a golden ticket, wide open opportunity or opportunities in the US for brands to step up and be in this space more, specifically for skyrunning. And I've heard rumor that has happened, that's starting to happen, um, because they're the ones that have, a lot of influence too, in addition to athletes out there. So I'm excited to see some of that happen more so in the future. Um, I think it comes down to it's if we don't see other women out there doing the hard technical thing, then it's hard to picture ourselves out there in the first place. Also, it's hard to know, and I've asked a ton of people this question just to gather like insight. Um, what's preventing them from getting more into skyrunning? Women in particular, and the answers are financial. It's hard to travel to races that are overseas. Gear. No, people don't know, what they should wear or how to dress, how to layer for um, a sky race or just running for fun in like a sky race type of terrain. And then just general awareness. I mean, awareness and education, but how to go out and like find a place to do sky running in the States is a little bit confusing. There are some barriers in place. Like the US is just, we operate differently, obviously, than, you know, some of these other places. And running off trail is seen as taboo, whereas in Europe, it's like you see people just frolicking. The goal is how to get from the town to the top of the mountain in the most efficient line as possible. And you can go off trail, you can go anywhere you want. Here, that's just like pretty frowned upon. Um, so
That's very true.
there's, yeah.
Michelina will tell you about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
So,
okay, so a couple questions I have off this. I think one that immediately sparks my attention, I just find it interesting, is, and for men, goes for men and women, especially on stateside, but just in general, it seems like Golden Trail, man, just seems to snap up a lot of them. At least on the American side, I could speak for it. The
mhm,
the elite women seem to be funneled more on the short trail side, really into the Golden Trail, and there's significantly less, if any. Like I could think on the top of my head, like maybe Kelly Wolf, Karina
mhm.
Anderson, Michelle Morales. Like there's not many women that have competed over the last, like I guess Billy Kowalczyk, because I know she did Sky Race Day Mouthson a couple years ago, but like very few. Is it the story that's being told? Is it the prize money, the availability of spots? Like I just find it very interesting on the American side how little I mean, and men too.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's really not a lot of dudes. I mean, what are we? Morgan Elliott and like two other people, maybe
Yeah.
Benjamin
Yeah.
Townsend. There's not many.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, so the Skyrunner World Series is, they have an elite athlete um, program where they sponsor um, some athletes from around the world. I don't know what their strategy is for like how they pluck or select, people from different countries. But that was one of the ways that I was able to. They sponsored me last season, so they did help with a lot of my travel and whatnot. And I do know they are going to be doing that next year, but it might look a little bit different. I don't know how yet, but I think in general, I mean, Golden is so spot on with their marketing and their content, and they're just like a really well-oiled machine. And you put that next to UTMB, and all of a sudden, skyrunning, skyrunning has been around for a long time. I mean, they've got work to do
Yeah, yeah,
to bump up their, like visibility and marketing and content, and they know that. And they also know that there's a golden opportunity in the US. So I've been asked this before, like why are they not, why is there that like seem that miss, I guess. Um, and I don't really know. I haven't really figured it out. I think that what I've narrowed it down to is um a lack of education, a lack of true, honestly, clarity on what skyrunning is and where it fits into trail running and ultra and mountain running. And like in the States, you have people trying to make these decisions between if they're running, like UTMB races, Cirque, Golden Trail, factored in a lot of, all the others too. And skyrunning, you go to the International Skyrunning Federation website and select US. And like last year, there were two races. So it's not big here. It's not known um, yet, but there's a lot of opportunity for it to be, but there's a lot of um, criteria that needs to be met from the ISF to get there. And so I think that is some hurdles. Whereas if have a race that can be called a trail race because it's on trail, that's a lot easier to market, get permitting for, and put out there into the world than a race that requires like so many more levels of permitting and approval. I mean, the ISF has a laundry list of things that they require a race to have in order for it to be marked as a true sky race. So I think if you go out there and ask athletes, do you want to race a sky race? You'll probably get a lot of like, yeah, I
yeah.
do. Where do I go? How do I start? Like, where do I have to go, overseas to do it? And it's kind of like, well, at the moment, yeah. But I will say, I think, Cirque Series and what Julian's building there is probably the best training ground for sky racing in the US that I've seen. I mean, that Speed Goat obviously, but I mean, and of course there's Broken Arrow, but I don't know, I have my particularities around a lot of some of those races out there.
I think the rut also. I broke. See
The
the
rut,
the rut is
yes,
more a sky race to me, and this is no. Like I love Brandon. I love Broken Arrow, and I'll
totally.
be at Broken Arrow this year for commentary. But to me, I think that I don't. I It's hard for me to say it's a sky running course. Like sure, there's a lot of revert.
Yeah.
I don't think it's. I think a lot of people, all the elites listening to this, are probably going to say the same damn thing. I don't think it's that technical. There's sections like certain.
Mhm.
I don't have to go into specifics, but like if you're looking at just from a holistic, I go back to the Cirque Series because I think you're taking that Alyeska course is bananas.
I love that
It's a
course.
great
When
course.
wha- when I raced that in 2024 and the downhill section of that, I was like screaming at the top of my lungs because I was so happy to have that. That I mean, you were like sliding down the mountain. It was so technical.
Oh yeah,
I was like, finally, like this, more of this. Yeah, I
yo,
mean, that gets me
Alaska
really
gets
excited.
it. That Alaskan mountain
I
running
know.
scene. Those are some interestingly cool people, and
Hmm.
like there's a scene there which I think is kind of cool, and I think it's very underground, very slept on. But
Hmm.
I think if in the United States in general, if we were to do a sky race, that's a spot that should be considered. I don't know if there's like a multiple peak link up type of trail system that we could
Hmm.
do, but like that's the spot to do it. I think, or that's one of the spots. I think the problem with like and we'll get into this. We'll talk more about like the U.S. and stuff like that. But yeah, the Cirque Series to me is I think the closest thing in general, and the atmosphere. I like the atmosphere. It's
Yeah,
competitive. The best show up. Like in very few races outside of Broken Arrow are you going to be able to race Patrick and Philemon on U.S. soil, which is crazy.
totally.
Um, Granted, they're like a year removed from racing the series, but there's decent like competitiveness, and it's accommodating for everyone. And I think it's a great entry
Hmm.
point to the sport because the distances are what 10 to 12 to 13K at
Yeah,
most. It's not
yeah.
very. I mean, you were at. What did you think of Crystal? I was supposed to go this year and got sick and didn't want to making it
Mm.
out. I was really bummed to it, but I heard that was a really good addition, like just a great new course.
Hmm. Yeah, I, again, great training course. I went out and did the course the next day as well because I was like, I want to go back and revisit some of those sections um and just like spend some more time up there. But yeah, I also think it was a great addition. I grew up skiing that mountain, so it was really cool to like run it in a race. I'd never done a race at Crystal. Um, but I also think, and don't quote me on this, but I think there used to be some sort of sky running race
There was
there.
a marathon there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that's what I thought. So like also great sky running terrain. I think obviously when you're stuck to the confines of like the resort, you're not getting the technicality of a lot of the other like peaks around there, but like gosh, open that course up, make it longer and get into some of the other stuff, like the backcountry stuff, and you've got yourself a skyrunning race. So um yeah, I got so excited about that. Was that your did I answer your
Yeah, you
question?
did. You did. I want to shift gears a little bit. I have a question for you because we were copied on an email with U.S. Skyrunning. What role to like is that an arm of the ISF? Like what role did they play? Like what's the deal with that?
Yeah. They are I again, don't quote me on this, but my take is they're an arm of the ISF. They
Okay.
work with the ISF. Um, I've met with them and the ISF. They all kind of communicate and work together, and everybody is acutely aware of the opportunity in the States. Um, so I there's a lot more that can be done in the States with the US skyrunning organization, and I'm excited to hear more about those plans and work more closely with Ryan. And we'll see. I know that the youth skyrunning organization that Ryan has built for USA has been a major focus of theirs. So that's great. Like, love to see that. I know they've hosted camps for girls who are like really strong cross country runners in high school, and tried to expose them to some of the more like technical terrain, which also love that. That's great. Um, they, I think, they were based in Vermont, and then they moved to Italy, which because I think they wanted those mountains, which don't blame them for that.
Right.
Dolomites are irreplaceable. But that just they're over there, and there's a lot of work to be done over here. So
Gotcha.
I'm excited to see, how all of that kind of plays out.
No, I like that. And the reason I ask is because like I see you as this just a really good figure for maybe an ambassador, I think is more of the right word. This ambassador for US sky running. You go abroad and you race these races, you get to experience this whole thing. And I think that there's a great opportunity there for yourself and others that race the Skyrunner series, or the World Series. Jackson Cole's a great example too. I know he's
Hmm.
he's a little bit quieter on the front, but like goes and races everything. He's one of the best in the world. But I think
Hmm.
there's opportunities there to raise awareness and get more conversation about skyrunning in the States. Just let me ask you this: like, I know you've had conversations. You don't have to give anything away. I feel like we're close to maybe having more races. Like, I know on the website, what is it? The Broken Arrow 23K is their one certified course, and then the other one's Beast of Big Creek. Are we
Yeah.
close to something else being added? Like, is that a possibility? Or
I yes, and the difficulty, the challenges are still the same, and I don't think there's been anything done to like ease those challenges, if that makes sense. So I agree with you. Like the rut, I would love to see that become an official course. I Again, excuse me, the technicality side of things, like the ISF wants to heavily protect the integrity of what it means to skyrun and be an official skyrunning course, and I'm all for that. Um, so I do think we're going to start to see more US based races get that certification as that educational side grows. Also, and I should have mentioned this earlier, one of the initiatives that USA Skyrunning and the ISF is working on is an official skyrunning coaching certification,
okay.
which will be interesting to see how that affects the landscape at all. I think, I'm in favor of it because I think that, again, the more education we can get out there, the better. And I think that will also trickle into helping more courses become official skyrunning courses. But we're also affected by our permitting system here, insurance, barriers like that are just bigger levers to pull.
Yeah.
So
How
we'll see. Yeah,
how aware are you of like the 2019 series or like the series that died in 2019? There was like Skyrunner USA,
yeah,
which was like a thing.
yeah.
That was actually, it's funny when you were talking about like the first races that you did. Like when I first got into the sport, like that was like what I was looking at doing. Like there was, I think it was the Sangre de Cristo 27K, which is like just
Uh-huh.
two laps up and down like a steep fire road.
Yeah.
What are we doing? This isn't skyrunning. But yeah, I totally understand the need to protect the sanctity of a, like, dude, the rut would be so perfect because that course
Be
is
so perfect.
so nasty. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
that would work perfect. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I don't know how, like, is there a certain distance length they have to have, like, or is it just
There
for
is there is a certain distance length. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's like if you break down a course, they're particular about every single, like the percentage incline, the average incline over the course of the entire distance, the course distance, the like climbing grade. It has to have a specific climbing grade where you don't require equipment for climbing, like with specific gear, but the course can have ropes. So like sometimes you might be required to not bring your own rope, but like use rope that's there, wear a helmet, things like that. So yeah, yeah. To answer your question, 2019, I'm like, man, I missed I missed that. But I think it's probably like it will come back in a better, stronger way.
I like that.
So
You have me
TBD on
I'm hopeful now.
when that happens. Yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful too. And I agree with you. Alaska is like quintessential, like probably that and the Wasatch,
Yeah.
best terrain
Yeah.
for it.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I'm such a snob that I'm like very like I get even mad at like some of the like the road builders in Colorado. I'm like, you guys couldn't build a 17.5% road, like ski road, like
I
or
know.
fire
Come
road, like
on.
anywhere. Like I have to like travel for this. I have to use my treadmill. The Wasatch is where it's at. I have to
Yeah,
be honest with
I
you.
know.
Like I know people want to talk a big game about Boulder, and Boulder's cool and all, but I think the best training ground in America has got to be the Wasatch. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's true. It's
Okay, I am so glad you said that because I have had my qualms with Boulder. I've almost moved there like 5 different times. My coach living in South Africa, he's like Boulder's like the mecca for him in the US. He's like, just move to Boulder, move to Boulder. And I agree. Like I mean it's great, don't get me wrong. I've spent a lot of time there, but when it comes to just wanting to go up and practice up and down in technical terrain, like yeah, I have to say Wasatch and Alaska
yeah.
are probably like the winners. So,
The Northeast is sick too. I just think that, and I think actually
yeah.
very slept on, like the White Mountains, New Hampshire, are everything
Hmm.
there is built straight up and straight down. It doesn't have quite the vertical relief that I mean, some sections
Hmm.
definitely do, but like if you're trying to race, the problem with the White Mountains is it just doesn't have the altitude. Whereas like if you're trying to get ready for something more Europe based, I really think the
Yeah.
Wasatch makes, or if you're trying to race in Wasatch, like a Cirque Series races or Speed Goat, it makes the most sense to
Hmm.
train for something like that. Um,
Yeah.
Really quick, I want to pivot and talk about 2026. Like, what do you have planned for this upcoming year for racing?
Yeah. I am like in the thick of planning for that right now. And just waiting at the moment for the Skyrunner World Series schedule to be released. It should be released like any moment. So excited for that. That's what I'll kind of build my racing schedule around is those I'll pick like 4 to 5 Skyrunner World Series races to be like my A level races, and then from there I'll filter in some B level races that are great and fun and support the A level races. So as far as I don't think I have a hunch, it's just a hunch that Austria is going to be a sky race next year. I think they've switched that around, and otherwise, I would love to race that course again because I think I would do a lot better this year and have a good chance of being top 10 in it. So we'll see on that one. I'm definitely going to go back to Canada because I have
Yeah,
some redemption to get, and I just want to see. I mean, those mountains are insane, so that's on the list. And then I would love to go back to Ireland. That race was really fun, and this past year was special because it was the UK National Skyrunning Championship. So there were a lot of people there and strong talent, and I think that'll be the case next year too. So yeah, I am excited to see there's supposedly less races on the Skyrunner World Series calendar next year.
okay,
And um I'm happy about that because that's gonna make the the field just deeper at the races that they do have. And then they're going to add a couple of races too. So I'm like, yeah, we'll see. I'm excited to see what they come forward with. But I would love to race the rut. Um, I unfortunately Broken Arrow tends to be on the same weekend as a
Minotaur.
Skyrunner World Series race
Yeah,
as Minotaur.
yeah.
So I'll do Minotaur not instead of Broken Arrow for the same reasons that you shared earlier. Like I it's like almost, but not quite. I don't know. So
I was really bummed. I wanted to go, like, I'm definitely going out to Broken Arrow this year, but I wanted to do
yeah.
back-to-back weekends where I race on the East Coast and then
Hmm.
cover Broken Arrow and then cover Minotaur and maybe race Minotaur, but also do like race coverage for it. And now that
Hmm.
I think Minotaur, I'm pretty sure it's on the same weekend as Broken Arrow, so it's definitely not going to happen.
I think
But
so.
yeah, man.
Yeah,
And
I know.
this year it's a special year too because I think it's the North American
Yeah,
final, right? Yeah,
it is.
or championship or something like that. Yeah,
Youth
yeah.
youth championship?
It's
Is
something.
it?
No, I think it's beyond that. I
I
think
think it,
it's like
okay.
one step up to. I think it's a. I don't know. They just announced something that I totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's huge. So that'll be a competitive, fun, popular race. So I'm super jazzed about that. I'm also considering going to do the Mexico Sky Challenge. It's usually in March. So actually, sorry, May. Ironic, like you'd think going to Mexico from here would be easy, but it actually like the flight time getting to the specific town that it's in is rather difficult. It ends up being like the same amount of time to get to Maria Alm, which is where the Austria Sky Race is located. So
Mm.
we'll see. But outside of that, I'm probably gonna do a couple like, for fun local races leading into the season. I try to do those and support some of the local race series. And then maybe like a road half
Ooh. Okay.
just to for fun to kind of work on speed.
Gives you something to do in
But
the
we'll
off
see.
season. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
very
Mostly
cool.
that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
We're actually one more thing to add to that, dude. Ultrax Extreme. That race looks nuts. That
Oh my
course.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I didn't set if I can, I would love to do that race because I did not do that last year. And just to experience that, that course is like the real deal. Like they do not, there's no BS. They're like, you're either here and you're able to race this, or you're not going to be able to race this.
Oh, too. Also, what is it? What is it? Sky Race Dave Math Sin. That's another sick race that I've been
Yeah.
really wanting to do for years too.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's high on my list.
Maybe next year I'll do the Skyrunner series, or at least do a couple of them, throw them in because they do look good.
Yeah.
Some of them, like Dave Math Sin, because that fits in. That's like early season. What is that? Like May? I
Yeah.
think it's like late May, something like
Hmm.
that. So
Yeah, it's early. Yeah, that's a popular one too. So it's like the field is deep in that and it's beautiful. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you can cut
So
switchbacks, which is crazy.
I know another thing that you definitely are not allowed to do here.
Yeah,
They like applaud that
yeah,
there.
yeah.
They're
It's like
like,
a
oh,
big no
yeah.
no here. Yeah, it's funny. I don't know if you cross paths with Benjamin or Rio Townsend. They live locally in Colorado
Mhm.
Springs. Benjamin, they both did the U23, and Benjamin was telling me when he raced. I think Dave Matheson a couple of years ago was like his first Skyrunner race, and he was like astonished because like they're like
Yeah.
cutting the switchbacks, and he's like didn't know what to do. He's like, do I do this? Do I not?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Yeah, you're like, what?
the learning
Is
curve.
this legal? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And it turns out the only way to win the race is if you do that. So,
It's true. It's true. Yeah, he was like,
yeah.
dude, he's like, Antonio Martinez ran like a mile less than me and won the race. It was like, he's like, what the hell? So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Last thing I want to get to, where are you at on sponsor search? Are you a free agent right now? Are
Oh,
you looking
I'm a free
for a
agent.
brand partner? Okay. All right.
Yeah, I've had so prior to I was working with Neurona. They were kind of my longer term partner for 3 years. They um are starting to get more into US, which is great, but from strictly a racing perspective, they're less focused on racing. So I decided to go out on my own and not continue working with them last spring, and just wanted to. I mean, I've worked with, like you said earlier, like brands here and there on things, and I decided going into last season, I wanted to just kind of. I was able to do it, you know, with just being a free agent, being on my own, and was able to kind of make it work with work and working for myself and financially. And so I decided to just like do the season like that and see what could come of it and not go into it with any crazy pressure from sponsors. and it was great. And I'm glad I did that because I think it's a different experience than when you're working with a brand and have to, there's a lot of things that come with that. But moving forward, I mean, all the travel and everything required, and I am looking, and I want to do so intentionally, and I've been pretty focused on prioritizing that like level of intentionality and making sure that partnerships ideally like are long term for me. They're not one off, and it's really like true value alignment in what works for me from a product perspective, but also like where we're headed. I want to work with a brand or brands that see the value and are putting their um walking the talk of trying to get more representation out there, more women involved, more women in technical terrain. So um yeah, being patient and trying to be intentional about it. But yeah, free agent at the moment.
I like that. I like that. All right, that's a good pitch. We put that out into the world.
Yeah.
No, I think that there's, and I don't know, your background too speaks so well, especially given what you do professionally and being able to marry that. I think that there's a lot of good potential and cool stuff there for the future. So very cool.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think I think we're at what, hour 10, hour 11? I think we got everything. Is there anything you wanted to throw in at the end there that you don't think we covered?
No, I think yeah, I think we pretty much got to everything. I'm excited to see how next season shapes up, and I think there's like I've been what keeps me inspired, especially during, going into off season like this, is just the questions that I've been asked of interested or from interested runners, interested sky runners. And so, if anybody listening to this ever has any questions about that, like my door is always open and I'm happy to chat anytime.
I was going to say something similar to you. You're going to be like my skyrunning person. If you ever
Perfect.
have something you want to talk about, like skyrunning wise or whatever, like, well, the microphone's always yours. I think that there's really like, especially as the sport develops and grows in the United States and as it starts to kind of catch legs, I think there's going to be opportunities or a lot of room for conversation as it starts to grow. So definitely looking forward to more of those
Yeah.
conversations down the line.
Yeah. No, me too, for sure. And I think it will grow. I think it's only a matter of time. And I think there's enough interest now and curiosity that it's only going to grow. So I'm excited to revisit that conversation when the time comes.
Sweet. Well, Robin, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on, and I'm a big fan. I appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks so much for having
Yeah,
me.
thanks. There we go. Cool. Stopped. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.